Good morning, lovely spirits. It's the wise servant here, Mr. Solace. Put some cassette. Peace and wisdom. Now, today I want to do this video called CRISPR CAS9. Spelled C-R-I-S-P-R, not E-R. Now, the CAS9 part, this is not really important, but it's scientists' way of adding a little confusion to the discovery. So I'm starting to notice how scientists are like their own secret society, and they have their own little language that they speak, you know, words and numbers, and just they try to confuse you. And they're like their own little secret society. I'm starting to notice that. It's like cells. You have cells within you, and then you have organisms all around you with cells within them. Now, that creates a separation because cell and organism is a different word. So it gives you a different perspective of the two. But if you look at the underlying definition of what a cell is, it's just a microorganism. It has organelles, which are organs. It has an immune system. So it's pretty much no different than any other organism you see around yourself. But they give it a different name. They don't just call it a microorganism. So that your perspective can be more online and say, oh, I grasp. You have different organisms all around myself. And I have a whole bunch of different cells within me, and some are like me, and some are like this, and some are like that, and, you know, get your perspective better. But scientists, they don't do that. And I'm starting to notice they do this on purpose because they can explain everything simple. It's truly a simple thing, but this is what they do. Now, I want to get into this video, CRISPR, because I know many of you are like, what is CRISPR? And this is a new science that they've discovered. Now, when I say new, I don't mean newly invented. I mean newly discovered. Because all science is here, and it will always be here. So the science of harnessing energy will always be here, whether we have it or not. Now, when we discovered it is when we discovered it, and when the ancients discovered it is when they discovered it, and when it got lost in between those times, doesn't matter, because the knowledge is, that reality exists. That reality still exists. It's just a matter of a person having it. So when I say newly discovered, I don't want you to think like, oh, this is a new thing and no one ever had it. But it's like all sciences. Discover it here, you discover it, you lose it, you discover it. The sciences are used differently. So the same technologies we have today, they had in the past, they may have just used it for different purposes. We use our technology more for like entertainment. They may have used it in a different way. It all depends on the intellect of the society. So it's truly a deep thing. We have to stay current on what scientists are doing in today's times. I like to keep my eye on them and see where they are, because it's important. You have to know where they are to know where you're going. You know, like how brothers say, man, you got to know where you came from. Well, you don't have to know where you came from. All you got to know is your goddamn self, because that's what matters. You can know all the past you want. You can know all the past history in life. Still don't know yourself. You got to know yourself before you start indulging and getting lost. And it's a deep thing. That's what I mean. You got to stay current on what scientists are doing today, because this is your time. You got to stay focused on what they doing to know where you go. So it's a deep thing. It's like I said, you got to know self to know the past. We try to look into the past histories to try to know now. No, my child, that's backwards. Know yourself. Then you'll understand history. Don't know yourself, History will be you. If you don't have control over yourself, someone will. If you don't have intellect for self, well, then someone will bestow you with theirs. And this is how everyone is in today's times, from what I see. Everyone has someone else's intellect, and they run around and say, this is this, and I was just watching one of Sarnetta videos with Lex Vortex and a Garfield guy, and the Garfield guy was like, Malcolm X said, and I said, this is the weirdest thing in life. Men don't say I said. You get weird stuff like Malcolm X said, and Marcus Garvey said, and this is a grown-ass man. I think his name was Garfield. He thinks he's tough, so I don't want no problems. I don't want him to get mad at me. But that's just weird, brother. You seem like a real strong brother. Be solid, nigga. Don't be saying no goofy stuff like Malcolm X said that when you know where I'm from the streets. You don't be saying no weird stuff like this, brother. You only say that when you don't got no credibility. Then you be like, man, I'm cool with so-and-so. I don't say stuff like that. I said. Because what I said is good enough. I don't care what the next person said. What they said was good for whoever they was talking to, but they wasn't talking to me because I ain't from their time. Simple. Cold-blooded simple. All the rhetoric. It's too much rhetoric and propaganda and weird talk. I watched Sarnetta debate between the two brothers, and it was just extra long with no real point. One brother said history is important, the other brother said it's not. And if you want to be technical, history ain't important because the life is revolving. Yesterday's the same as today. If you live today, then you focus on today. And you grasping today, then you'll know what yesterday was because it's the same day. Different people, same day. Lost in history. Just get lost in today and you'll grasp history. It's a simple concept. But men will do what they choose. But I don't want to get lost on the topic because the energy. You see how when I start speaking of Sarnetta TV, how my energies change? Because his energies on his channel, it's a deep thing. Y'all got to pay attention to things like that. I try to keep my energies pulling from the positive and the peaceful. Because, you know, we all have a storm within ourselves already. You don't need nothing to add to your hurricane, so to say. So it's a deep thing. But just notice that, how the whole energy of my persona changed when I started speaking about the debate. Because these brothers were debating, and it was like a lot of ego and unnecessary insult. And I don't want to say it was both of them, but I don't want to just single out one person. So, you know, just from an unbiased perspective, the energies was just unnecessarily aggressive. If you're having an intellectual debate or conversation or engagement, so to say, there should be no physical aggression or physical aggressive mannerisms included. When you argue, this is associated with, you know, physical aggression because, you know, yelling leads to hands being put on bodies. So this is what I mean by that. But it should just be a peaceful talk. But let me get to my video. Now, I want to break down this CRISPR CAS9 thing to you guys because it's a new technology or a new science that they're understanding, and it's a deep thing because this CRISPR thing deals with DNA. It's like the master key of DNA. So a man cannot mate with the elephant. So this is what I mean by it's like a master key of DNA. Because with this, you can merge things that do not go together. It's like a clone of all DNA. Now, where they're at now, they're like noticing how, you know, they can swap out certain DNA and replace it with whatever they choose and make it go. So men don't have wings, but they could take the DNA of a bird and merge it with a man's DNA, taking out his spine DNA or whatever. Whatever DNA makes the spine. Whatever genetics make that, and replace it with wings and make it go. And this is what this CRISPR technology does. They can replace it with, like if a man is sickly, they're at this stage, like if a man is sick, or if a fetus is developing, let's say with AIDS, they can remove and adjust the fetus. Now, when you get into the bigger stages of life, like organisms, they're struggling with that part, like to change a man's DNA while he's already developed. They've tried it, but the thing dies, so they're struggling with that part. But when you get to the beginning stages, you know, before organisms like cells, atoms, it works, and it's a deep thing. They're playing with this. Now, my point of saying this is because, like I said, no science is truly new. It's just a matter of being discovered. Now, when you read ancient texts like ancient Egyptian texts and ancient Sumerian literature, and they have like these hybrid creatures like the chimera and all these, even in Greek, all ancient times they had these weird creatures, hybrid creatures. And it's a deep thing. The technology, the science, the CRISPR science that we're discovering now, they had it in the past. It's just a matter of knowing. So when you read like Anubis, and you like, man, what the hell is Anubis? Well, what Anubis is if you look at certain cells under a microscope, certain atoms, I don't want to say atoms, but if you just look at the microscopic life under a microscope, some of it looks like Anubis, and some of these different ancient Egyptian creatures or artwork that you see within the written language, a lot of it is microscopic life seen under a microscope. So it's deep how their language was from the life. Like, their first letters was like, you know, the weird inscriptions we see, man, you see those within self under a microscope. It's deep if you can grasp what I'm saying. Like, we have our alphabet, they had theirs. Now theirs was more like pictures and symbols. And all these pictures and symbols like Anubis, and this symbol and that symbol, the Ankh, and the Eye of Ra, and all of these symbols we see, they all lie within the body. So it's a deep thing. The people that study ancient Kemetic science of today, they have no clue of what they're missing out on, because they don't know what they're speaking of. They have no clue of what they're seeing. And I try to tell you guys, like, no, that's wrong, it's this, and then the egos clash. But a lot of the hieroglyphic symbols and the different little creatures y'all see in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs and their different writings, it'll blow your mind if I told you, man, go get a microscope and look at the microscopic life, and then just look at all the different aspects of the body within. And I guarantee you, you're going to be like, their written word was microscopic life. They were so smart. I don't even think people in today's times have the capacity to understand them. So when I say things like this, you're going to have brothers that say, no, Silas don't know what he's talking about. I'm positive. The Eye of Ra is within the brain. It's a literal thing. It's looking at the body under a microscope. And they use that as the letters. They were just smart. We're not that smart. I don't know how to break the news to you guys, but I know we think we're at the peak of where all societies have ever been. And we're not. We're like the baby. Of all history, we're at the baby beginning stages. Where our technology is going, the ancients was past that. Like, So this is why a lot of things we see and read and try to understand of the ancients, we don't. We don't understand because we're just not there in our intellect, in our sciences. I know a lot of y'all, because I'm laughing because I know a lot of y'all going to be like, well, how you know? I'm an old spirit. I'm old. But y'all don't grasp that kind of talk. It's like the ancient Kemetic. Y'all don't grasp that that's just microscopic life in their writings. Their letters is just microscopic life. And you just got to know life to know what they was talking about. Don't grasp that. It's like, nah, Solace, you made that up. 50 years from now, nothing I said will be made up anymore. They say, Solace teach pseudo. 50 years from now, what I'm saying ain't going to be pseudo. It's a deep thing y'all have to grasp. It's like when I said semen becomes breast milk. Breast milk is semen. Semen transmuted is breast milk. Like light transmuted is darkness. And y'all just have to grasp everything is just the same thing. Transmuted or transferred over to its next purpose. It's a deep thing. A man is a man and he serves his purpose physically, and he dies and he's transmuted over into his next purpose of existence. But I said semen is breast milk, and you know, people said, man, that's pseudo, and it won't be pseudo 50 years from now when they use semen as an alternative for breast milk. For those that don't breastfeed, they have Similac now, which is powder. It's not real. It's like feeding a baby candy, meaning candy is not fruit, but so it's no different. But if someone's wise and they grasp when I said semen is breast milk, then they, you know, can get a better alternative out of the semen and use it for breast milk, if what I said was grasped. Because women don't have breast milk until they have semen in them. So a person could say whatever they choose. No, that's a lie. Okay. Show me a woman that has breast milk before conception. Exactly. You can't conceive unless you have semen in sperm cells within you. So grasp. All things will be used. And it's a deep thing. I'm a little ahead of science. No ego or nothing like that. I know y'all like to get lost on that. But I'm a little ahead of science. And this is why a lot of things I say, y'all say, oh, that's ego, or that's pseudo, or he made that up. And I didn't make up nothing. It's truly common sense. But it's like I said, y'all have other people's intellect bestowed on y'all since y'all don't use y'all own. If that makes sense. So this is why you hear brothers say, man, Malcolm X said. Who said Malcolm X was the pinnacle of wisdom? Who said anyone that is being named as references? Ali Muhammad and this brother and that brother and Marcus Garvey, and who said these people were the pinnacle of what wisdom is? And I'm not saying anything against them. I'm just saying, who said that in life? Because y'all be like, this person said and that person said, and only followers do that. They think that their leader is more right than the next person, the next follower's leader. So they be like, my leader said, and then the next follower will be like, but my leader said, and wise men sit and say, man, this is imbalanced. But it's a deep thing. Men don't grasp these things. They get mad. They say, no, Silas, you're stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. I want to fight. No, you don't. But we have to find peace. Because this is the beginnings of grasping. Simple things like breast milk is semen. Simple things like midgets or GMOs. This is why their bodies are disproportionate. If life makes you, then you're perfectly proportioned. If you're altered, it will show. So midgets' heads are not proportioned with their body. Their arms are not proportioned with their body. Everyone's arm from elbow to fingertips is about 1.5 feet or 0.5 meters. And it's a reason for that, because if you go like this, where the fingertips are at the top, that's where the thoughts come from. So everyone's thoughts are their conscious. The energy it pulls from is right above. That's your halo, you can say, so to say. But you can't see it. But if you put your arm up like that, you'll feel your arm get weird. Then move your arm a little bit to the side, it won't feel weird anymore. Because you was putting it right on that energy. Giving strain to the arm. It's a deep thing. It's so many simple things you guys don't know. And I guess y'all think I don't know things either. So this is why nobody's knowing things. It's a lot of nothing being taught. It's like carbon dioxide knowledge. It's like waste knowledge that's supposed to be pushed out, but it's not. So you have to grasp. Now I know some of you may say, man, the science of today be lying, so there's no need to follow science of today. They be lying. Well, you have to grasp, my child. Life is simple. See, a lie has to be built off truth. So you have to grasp. All lies are nothing more than dirty truth. Truth with dirt on it. So you just have to be smart. Move the dirt away. All lies. There's no lie that does not have an aspect of truth to it. Lest it'll just be make-believe, completely made up. No one to go with it. So all lies, whether in history, you know how they say, oh, the Bible's been altered. It's okay. Because all lies are nothing more than truth with dirt on it. You just wash the dirt away. But you have to have a washing machine brain to know how to sort through the different fabrics and get the soil out. So wisdom is the deep thing. You just have to pull into it. You know, the same way we pull into the negativity and the useless things in life that truly don't matter. Well, so it's the same with wisdom. You know, you pull for what you want, and you build up on what you choose. A man can build his intellect up off all lies if he chooses. And he'll have an abundance of wisdom, but that doesn't mean it's accurate. But it's a deep thing. A crazy man is not insane to himself, just to everyone else. So it's a deep thing. It's all a matter of perspective. But I'll come back at a later date and do this video breaking down how ancient Kemetic writing truly was the innards of the body under a microscope. And, you know, this was their first, I don't want to say the first writing or alphabet or whatever, but it was the smartest. Because I don't see us doing that today. We don't even grasp that. The IRIs within the brain and the Ankh and all these different symbols are within the body. We just need a microscope. It's cold-blooded. But in any event, it's your main man, Solace, Personificat, the wise servant of the life. The life is grand, baby. The life teaches. Let me be an example of what the life can do to your intellect, baby. If you can just shave away some of the ego of yourself, find balance, morality, begin to see things from a moral, clean perspective. Unbiased, but just morally right. You got to balance yourself out on the scales. Remove yourself from self, in a sense, just to see things on a balanced scale. Pulling truth, begin to grasp. And it's a deep thing. The life teaches. Not the words that come from the living or the things that the living writes down, but wisdom comes from the life. From observing the living. Not what the living say or what the living do, but observing the living. So you grasp. You don't observe. You don't observe in law spirit, meaning observe the living things and judge. That's why I say you have to have morality. to observe a thing and not get lost in judgment, but grasp the nature, to grasp what you're observing. And you can learn a great deal of knowledge out of it. And it's a deep, deep thing, like midgets. No disrespect to any midgets. I'm not sure what the correct term for midget is, dwarf. There's many different terms for midgets, but in all trueness, all midgets are not the same. This is why you have these different terms. But when I say midget, I'm speaking of those who have the disproportioned bodies. Because you have people who are very short, midget in size, but their bodies are not disproportioned. They're like pygmies. Their heads and hands and arms and everything is proportioned right. Like a baby child. A child is small, but the child is proportioned right. So it's a deep thing you gotta grasp. Damn, my screen. You're taking pictures and I don't understand. But midgets and things like this, they're disproportioned. So it's a matter of that. And if you observe life, not being biased or judgmental, and just truly observe, and you have some knowledge of yourself, knowing, meaning you know things yourself, it's a deep thing. See, I know things already. Set aside from any influence, anything this man said, that man said. I know the sperm is the spirit. I said this. The sperm is the spirit. The egg is the body. Worlds are bodies. Every body that you see is a world. And it has the micro-life within it. And this is the stuff that I said. This is my knowledge. So I know things on my own from life. This is how I'm able to understand ancient Tim, ancient Sumer, this thing or that thing, the Bible, the Quran. This is how I'm able to understand it the way I do, because I already have my own knowledge. You have to know a thing to know a thing. If you know nothing, all you know is nothing. Fast. You know nothing, so whatever you're told truly will amount to nothing. And this is what you see today. Brothers regurgitating what they heard. No real true understanding of it. If they had it, it would be in their own words. They'd be talking about their own thing. So it's a deep thing, but it's your main man, Solace the Wise Servant. Peace and wisdom.